AFL is facing a sex attack scandal on the eve of the finals, with multiple players from the Sydney Swans under investigation for an alleged assault inside a Melbourne hotel room.
Hello, I'm Linton Besser. Welcome to Media Watch. And first, to the crisis engulfing the Sydney Swans and its attendant media frenzy. The press swarming on allegations of serious sexual misconduct.
Police confirming they're investigating allegations of a sexual assault in the early hours of this morning. They say the exact circumstances are yet to be established.
Fresh off their win against Essendon, a triumphant, inebriated bevy of Swans returned to their hotel and booked the services of at least 2 exotic dancers. Within hours, police had descended on the hotel and word got out. First with the story, the Herald Sun, able to report little more at this point than a serious incident under investigation. But by 1 p.m, the Swans were everywhere, appearing in lunchtime news bulletins which carried a new and shocking detail.
Victoria Police have since released their own statement saying they are investigating a report of a sexual assault.
Fever took hold in some newsrooms, journos desperate for a break on the story, nowhere more so than at the Daily Mail, which took to recycling online gossip and describing it as
unconfirmed claims that a Sydney player had thrown a sex toy that struck a woman in the back of the head, causing her to fall forward and damage her teeth.
The Hun then hurrying the same salacious speculation into its copy too, before, a little while later, downgrading it to a wild theory and adding this rather salient rider.
But sources close to the club this afternoon rubbished that claim.
As the gravity of the episode became clear, so too a theme began to emerge in the coverage.
They're top 4 on the ladder, finals just around the corner, the final round this weekend.
And this incident really threatens to derail their tilt at the premiership.
All of this coming on the cusp of finals, where the Swans are serious contenders.
When Seven's pundits took their seat on that night's panel show, the host opened like this.
We treat this story with respect and care, and we acknowledge the alleged victim involved, and we do need to talk and unpack the football side of this, given our role.
Before commentator and former player Kane Cornes leapt into what was really bugging him.
This is where I get really angry, because from a football point of view. So, as you said, leave the allegations aside. Let's just look at that behaviour and those actions when you're 2 weeks away from a final series, when Dane Rampey has played in 4 losing grand finals, and he's probably in bed at age 36 or at home right now going, this is my last chance. I'm 36. I had a chance to finish second and host another home final, get myself one last crack at winning a premiership.
The next day, the story dominated newspapers coast to coast, while one of that night's talking heads, AFL great Jonathan Brown, suggested these grown men were let down by those who should have put them to bed.
Oh, I know there's curfews at Sydney Airport, but they have to ask themselves a question. Did they do everything they possibly could to get those boys home, back in their own bed? So that's one question mark.
As the week went by, the tabloids ran spreads like these. Editors laying out photos of the men and their partners, entirely innocent parties. Before finally, on Thursday night and splashed across the following day's paper, one of the women actually at the centre of the scandal spoke out.
I don't want money, I want justice.
Claiming not 5 but 9 men were in the room, she told the Herald Sun the incident left her fearing for her safety and added,
This happens too often to women, and they, men, get away with it.
On this story, outlets have raced at breakneck speed to get the edge over their rivals. But early on, there have been voices of caution from within the profession on the need to remember this is not just a story about sport.
In some cases, and some panel shows and interviews that I've heard, there's barely been a mention of the women involved. And this is really important because sexual assault is a grossly underreported crime in Australia.
A sentiment echoed by former AFLW star Kate McCarthy.
Leading with a story like this and reporting to start with, and this is early hours of this breaking. Some news outlets going with just the ramifications on the Sydney Swans as a football club. I think it opened a conversation to have around gender-based violence, which is an issue in our country. And I know it's not a comfortable conversation, but it's one that women are very tired of having.
In a sport-mad country like Australia, such sordid conduct by one of its most high-profile footy teams clearly makes this one of the biggest stories of the year. And there's more to come, with news the women have lawyered up and are threatening to sue. But the frenzy has also provided a rolling lesson on the need to remember who, in this story, matters most. And now, Australia's long-suffering renters in for a rude shock.
Rent prices are projected to surge over the next 2 years. Economists from NAB say they could jump by 30% as landlords look to make up for the loss of property tax breaks abolished in the federal budget.
A one-third increase in rental payments in just 24 months, all thanks to Labor's property market reforms.
The debate about Australia's rental market sparked by a National Australia Bank report that says gross rental yields will need to rise.
The news on everyone's lips, landlords weighing up a big squeeze.
Rents are projected to soar by as much as 30% over the next 2 years to compensate many landlords for the loss of property tax concessions.
And from where did this earthquake originate? Why, the mighty Oz, of course, which warned readers to assume the position and
brace for an extra 30% on your rent.
Rents are projected to soar by as much as 30% over the next 2 years to compensate many landlords for the loss of property tax concessions that Jim Chalmers and Anthony Albanese abolished.
And where did it come upon this astounding number? This note from NAB, which told its clients the loss of tax benefits for investors will naturally prompt a market response.
For investment properties in Sydney and Melbourne, a rise in the rental yield to around 4.5% implies an increase in rents of 25 to 30%, assuming the current level of house prices is unchanged.
Rents needing to climb for investors to make up for lost tax benefits. But is there any other way landlords might make up the difference? By Jove's, yes. Because the bank went on in the very next sentence of its report to explain.
In the end, the adjustment will likely require a combination of both higher rents and lower dwelling values.
In plain language, rents need not go up as much if property prices come down. And what's more likely, according to NAB, is a combination of the two. But that sentence was not included anywhere in the Australian's report, prompting the Treasurer himself to line up for a free kick.
Well, a couple of points about that story in the Australian today. First of all, that's not a forecast from the National Australia Bank.
I think people see beyond the kind of clickbait headlines that they're reading.
The bank itself, no doubt after a phone call from Canberra, appeared to agree. Its note to clients the following day offering a shade of remorse.
In yesterday's note, we outlined one possible scenario. This was not a forecast. In reality, the adjustment will likely take place via a combination of lower dwelling prices and higher rents, and should have been more clearly stated.
So, what happened next? The Australian gathered around its conference table and planned a careful, nuanced follow-up article, acknowledging it might have over-egged the pudding. Nah.
Rental disorder.
The Splash dismissed NAB's update as only a supposed clarification and turned to another trusted, independent arbiter of property forecasting, real estate agents, for backup.
Australia's largest rental property manager has affirmed that Jim Chalmers' budget could lead to a 30% spike.
But did that property manager, Ray White, really affirm rents could soar 30%? The answer could be found over on page 5. The Realtor's chief economist explaining a 30% jump in rents would all but remove the need for property prices to fall, an unlikely scenario. Instead, it was
most likely a combination of both, something which is already occurring.
This inconvenience, buried in the copy, no doubt why Ray White's head office told us the Australian had accurately represented its analysis before pointing out
the 30% figure was not a forecast of rent growth.
which the Australian's stablemate, news.com.au, had already made much more clear.
One of Australia's largest property groups, Ray White, says it is not predicting across-the-board 30% rental increases.
The broadsheet's Day 2 double-down splash also took aim at Jim Chalmers' Queensland electorate of Rankin. Evidence of the rental crisis laid out for all to see. 10 properties with flagged rent spikes of up to 30%. But were Chalmers' battlers really bearing the brunt of his budget reforms? This 19.6% hike, for example, did it come after a discussion about the budget? The agent told us.
No, not at all. The tenant was in there 8 years and the rent was kept low. She has broken her lease.
And what about this 18.2% rent increase? Alto Property said nope.
That's not the reason. She simply wanted it up to market value. $550 is extremely cheap for a 4-bedroom.
One owner did rail about the change of rules, but laid equal blame at the feet of the Queensland government, which prevents landlords from increasing the rent more than once a year. Although he noted his hoped-for 27.3% increase had left the place vacant.
People keep turning up and saying, we think it's only worth this. It's my little stand. I'm sick of the government changing the rules.
The Oz declined to address our questions, and this morning on The Wireless, one rental affordability expert had this to say about the paper's campaign.
One of the things that's been a bit dispiriting about the reaction to the tax changes has been kind of seeing the influence that the property industry has got over the debate. And, we saw last week some real cherry-picked data that I think really misled both renters and landlords about what can happen.
There should be in the press gallery great scepticism of the government's prediction that its reforms will nudge up rent by a meagre $2 a week. Indeed, rents are climbing. But it seems equal scepticism is required by readers of The Australian, which has taken a page one-sized egg beater to what might have otherwise been an interesting piece of economic analysis. Our advice: put down the kitchen appliances and just serve it to the readers with a little less sauce. And finally, to last week's news that saw the earth wobble on its axis.
It's a Megxit bombshell. Prince Harry and his wife Meghan Markle are moving back to the UK 6 years after leaving the United States. They will make that shock return at the end of August for an extended period.
6 years after their freedom flight, Prince Harry and his Yankee princess have announced a regal reverse ferret. Royal watchers in clover once again.
I've had about 3 hours sleep.
Oh, wow. It's kind of like doing an election night.
It's like doing election night, yeah.
The Telegraph with the prized royal scoop.
Exclusive. Harry and Meghan plan move back to Britain.
And to be first with a story like that. But hang on.
Exclusive.
Exclusive.
World exclusive. Megxit.
Bombshell.
What serendipity. They all lucked upon the very same exclusive at the very same time. Surely this wasn't an embargoed announcement from the Prince himself. And to the extent it actually matters, who did get the Guernsey? Answer: not the Telegraph, but the Sun, who, sorry not sorry, hit publish a whole 60 seconds early. Meanwhile, at the heart of the empire, the sleuthing instinct is alive and well.
But what is the real reason behind their shock return to Britain?
He's obviously reached some sort of emotional, mental conclusion.
Penetrating insight. And what of the commoners?
Well, trawling through the nearly 10,000 comments that we have received so far, the mood runs from very, very negative to mildly happy.
Delighted, however, are the red tops, which the couple say had sent them packing in the first place.
Harry's Donna Runner.
Back in the fold, but not in the firm.
Return of the prodigal prince!
The Daily Mail in particular celebrating the end of the royal exile, having so recently handed the prince a humiliating defeat in his breach of privacy claim. At the time, its former editor was like a pig in mud.
There isn't a laundry in the cosmos big enough to wash all the dirty linen he has aired about his own family. For him to complain about his privacy being invaded takes not just the biscuit, but the whole tin.
Harry having swore just 16 months ago that he could foresee no way he could return home, a little ink might now be spilled spelling the word hypocrite in every way possible.
They've been absolutely vile, I think, about this country and about the royal family, and yet here they are now, and they want to move to a chocolate box, quintessentially English village in the countryside.
A warm welcome home, Harry. Meanwhile, the Antipodes buzzed with the real dilemma now confronting us all.
How will we refer to this? We had Megxit when they left. Is it Meg-entry? Is it arrival? Is it hasback?
Whatever its rightful designation, this royal relapse promises much rude health ahead, at least for the British press. And that's all from us tonight. Be sure to check us out on ABC iView as well as YouTube, Facebook and also Reddit. You can find full statements on our website. And don't forget to send us your tips. See you next week.